We received your message and we understand. We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace. This is very valuable to us, and we will pay.
I want to pose this similar question to you, what we were just discussing with Brian Enton. Does this language strike you as very specific? Not only saying they will pay, but begging, quote, to return our mother to us so we can celebrate with her, adding it is the only way we will have peace. What are you making of this new video tonight?
So I had done my weekly podcast with Harvey Levin, Two Angry Men, and TMZ had the original note, or one of the notes that followed on the heels of a note that was sent to two of the television stations in Tucson, supposedly. My belief was that when they asked for proof of life, and when they said they would pay, and I was asked, do you think they will? And I think they will. And specifically that there is a crypto or Bitcoin demand. I think they got the proof of life, and I think they are willing to pay because they want her back. And the reason I think they've made this next step is they do have proof of life, which I hope I'm right, because there were quite a few people speculating a lot more negative outcomes. And so I'm hopeful in that sense that that's why they've done this. I'm hopeful that that deadline came and went and that there was no negative action taken, and that they have now communicated and they are communicating that they will pay.
I see. So as you're alluding to, this video followed a new note sent to the same local TV station in Tucson just yesterday. We believe the FBI reviewed that, but we know that that did not provide proof of life for Nancy. Do you believe that behind the scenes some proof of life has come forward, and that's the reason we're seeing this new statement from the Guthrie family today and their pledge that they will pay?
Look, I'll preface it with complete speculation, but based on doing this for quite a while, that I will tell you that this new tape is very encouraging to me, at least as an observer, because it makes me believe they, in fact, have some kind of proof of life or something that is proven, and based on that, I think that we're getting to a point right now where we're going to see something very encouraging very soon.
Yeah, that is good to hear, and I hope that is true. We know in just a matter of hours, meanwhile, it will be 1 week since Nancy disappeared. Last Saturday night, she was dropped off by an Uber just before 10. She was the last seen at that time, and it wasn't until about 12 hours later that her family realized she was gone. They reported her missing. In your experience, how important is that 12 hours for investigators? And also, we see authorities not naming any suspects or persons of interest. Is that unusual in your mind? And do you think that's really the case, or are they just playing that close to the vest?
One of the reasons that I am encouraged, and obviously everybody wants a good ending here, is that she's alive. And I think one of the reasons that you're very encouraged, or I am very encouraged, is that first, it's generally not 12 hours, but generally 24, 36, somewhere in that neighborhood, where you want to make sure that nothing untoward has happened. And the fact that they didn't have proof of life when these first messages were sent, and the fact that they've done a second video, and they now believe after that first deadline, number one, that the letters or the communications were legitimate, is a great sign, because that means that somebody is holding her and that presumably she's safe. And number two, the fact that they are appealing to somebody's conscious or empathy or sympathy, I think is also encouraging as well, because that gives, they may know a whole lot more than they're letting on in this sense, and rightfully so. It goes to answer your question. Why are they not naming somebody? The fact that the messages that are being sent are empathetic or sympathetic leads me to believe that they have a pretty good idea as who this might be.
Thank you. Let's turn now in our ongoing coverage of the search for Nancy Guthrie to Jason Pack. Jason is a former FBI agent and hostage negotiator. Jason, thank you so much for being here. You have experience in situations similar to this. Tell us how difficult it is to work a case like this, Jason.
Jonathan, just first of all, from the human element of this, everyone seeing these videos over the past couple days just wants to reach through that television or camera, hug, and offer a prayer for the Guthrie family. And tonight, that video is no different. And their message is crystal clear, Jonathan. They hear and they're ready to pay. It couldn't be more clear. But these are highly complex investigations. The FBI's Crisis Negotiation Unit is partnering with the field office negotiators there out of the Phoenix Division. In the Pima County Sheriff's Office, they're consulting with BAU, and they're providing the best information to the Guthrie family to make the best decision. And we've seen that decision tonight. Earlier in the week, Jonathan, we were worried about opening that line of communication, and it seems that line has been open. And you remember the important caveat in there about the use of AI or deepfakes and all that stuff. So we're not sure exactly what's in that letter tonight, but there must have been something in there to make them go ahead and say, yes, we hear you and we're ready to pay.
And Jason, when you talk to a family in this situation, the Guthrie family clearly so emotional in all of the videos we've seen, none more so, I think, than tonight's. Does the FBI advise that showing emotion in that way is good? Is that supposed to help, perhaps, touch something in a kidnapper or kidnappers?
Yeah, Jonathan, nothing about these are staged. We want people to be real. We want them to be themselves, but we want them to understand to the kidnappers, like, we want to get Nancy back in this case. So it's really a transactional thing, and sure, it's emotional, and we want to make sure that we're giving them the best information to make their decisions. We also want to make sure, and we heard in some of that language, you want to make sure that you're not threatening, and you want to make sure that there is a positive result. Like, if you're listening now, the kidnappers, there's a way to end this right now peacefully and just do the right thing, as the special agent in charge said earlier in the week in the press conference.
All right, Jason, it's been great to have you with us.
Of today's show host, Savannah Guthrie, went missing in what authorities believe was an abduction. Investigators returned to her home today, on Friday, where they were seen taking a closer look at the roof of her vehicle and the roof of her house and a vehicle. CBS News' Andreas Gutierrez is in Tucson with the details.
We received your message, and we understand.
On Saturday, Savannah Guthrie and her siblings took to social media to address those responsible for taking their mother. In their post, they appear to address a new message from their mother's potential abductors. On Friday, authorities said they were working on verifying the authenticity of a message received in connection to Nancy Guthrie's disappearance.
We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace. This is very valuable to us, and we will pay.
Sunday marks 1 week since Nancy Guthrie was reported missing from her Tucson area home. Authorities have yet to identify a person of interest or suspect in the case, but on Friday came signs of progress as investigators returned to the residence. 2 agents were seen on the roof of Nancy Guthrie's house, and cell phone video shows a vehicle being towed from the home, reportedly a blue Subaru SUV belonging to Nancy Guthrie. A neighbor told CBS News authorities came onto his property Friday to conduct readings.
I was putting a coating on the roof, and a Suburban drove up, and a gentleman had a badge and asked to park here and take readings of some kind.
We need a way to communicate with you so we can move forward.
The Guthrie family has been pleading for communication with the potential captor or captors. A first unverified ransom note demanded payment in Bitcoin and sent 2 deadlines, but left no way of reaching out. The FBI is continuing to work to determine the note's authenticity. The next deadline specified in the note is Monday. Andres Gutierrez, CBS News, Tucson, Arizona.
This follows a week of unverified ransom notes, multiple searches of the Guthrie home, and the family and community begging for her safe return.
Fox 10's Taylor Wirtz is in Tucson tonight and joins us live now. Taylor, what a mystery. The weirdest and oddest case, too.
What do you keep it? Yeah, Brian, Ashley, it has truly been a saga. And we know that exactly 1 week ago, pretty much from right now, Nancy Guthrie's family says they dropped her off at her home just over my shoulder here. They believe that a few hours later, someone took her against her will. Tonight, the family is releasing yet another video on social media. This one appears to address the kidnapper directly.
It's been 1 week since 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie's family says they last spoke to her. In the days since, the Pima County Sheriff's Department has been working to piece together what happened. Sheriff Chris Nanos says he believes Nancy was taken from her home in the middle of the night, with her security camera disconnected around 2 a.m. 30 minutes later, her pacemaker disconnecting from its app, and her phone left behind. Investigators say a small trail of blood, a positive match for Nancy, led up to her front door.
There's something that's not right. It's unsettling.
This, as her family says, Nancy takes medication she needs to survive. Several news outlets also reported receiving ransom notes, demanding cryptocurrency in exchange for her return. While investigators ruled at least one of those notes a fake, Nancy's family, including Today Show host Savannah Guthrie and her siblings, released videos appearing to speak directly to the kidnapper. The latest posted Saturday.
We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace. This is very valuable to us, and we will pay.
A local Circle K employee says investigators came looking for surveillance footage Friday afternoon.
Just like looking for a guy that got away.
The sheriff's department says it has not identified any suspects or persons of interest, adding that seeking video is routine. And while Guthrie's disappearance has gripped the nation, it's hitting the Tucson community especially hard.
I think the difference of why it's so close to my heart is because it's a tiny little mom. You know, these elder people are very attached to this and hoping for the best results possible. You know, hoping that she can come home.
And the FBI says that one of those unverified ransom notes actually contained two deadlines, the first of which was this last Thursday at 5 p.m. The second is this coming Monday. If you know anything, call the FBI. We put a link with this story on fox10phoenix.com. In Tucson, Taylor Wirtz, Fox 10 News.
Taylor, Ashley and I have both been there this past week. Is the media outlets lining that street like they have been all week?
Yeah, Brian, it is still packed. Every inch of this street is covered with media cars, cameras, photographers, reporters, and the neighbors are really bearing with us because obviously a lot of them are getting tired of being asked questions. They're just trying to walk their dogs and live their normal lives, but they have been very understanding. They told us that they know there is an important reason for us to be here. They want Nancy's name and face out there, so they understand this just comes with the territory.
Okay, good to hear. Good for your report tonight. Thank you, Taylor.
It's been 1 week since Nancy Guthrie, mother of Today Show co-host Savannah Guthrie, went missing in what authorities call an abduction. Friday, investigators returned to her home where they looked closely at the roof and at a vehicle. CBS News Miami's Andres Gutierrez is in Tucson with the details.
Sunday marks 1 week since Nancy Guthrie, the mother of Today Show co-host Savannah Guthrie, was reported missing from her Tucson area home. Authorities have yet to identify a person of interest or suspect in the case, but on Friday came signs of progress as investigators returned to the residence. 2 agents were seen on the roof of Nancy Guthrie's house, and cell phone video shows a vehicle being towed from the home, reportedly a blue Subaru SUV belonging to Nancy Guthrie. A neighbor told CBS News authorities came onto his property Friday to conduct readings.
I was putting a coating on the roof and a Suburban drove up, and a gentleman had a badge and asked to park here and take readings of some kind.
Area residents say they're on edge following Guthrie's disappearance.
People are they're very unhappy and they're kind of in shock with it, and they're hoping against hope, but every day that goes by is not a good sign.
Look, where is she? What has happened?
All of this comes as investigators are trying to verify a new message that came in Friday to see if it's real and if it's connected to earlier alleged ransom notes. In a joint statement, they say, quote, investigators are actively inspecting the information provided in the message for its authenticity.
We need a way to communicate with you so we can move forward.
The Guthrie family has been pleading for communication with the potential captor or captors. A first unverified ransom note demanded payment in Bitcoin and sent 2 deadlines, but left no way of reaching out. The FBI is continuing to work to determine the note's authenticity. The next deadline specified in the note is Monday. Andres Gutierrez, CBS News, Tucson, Arizona.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to the news at 10. I'm Creed Winter.
And hi there. I'm Courtney Friel in tonight for Rick Chambers. In a new video released tonight, an anguished Savannah Guthrie pleads with her mother's kidnappers to return her and promises to pay for her release.
The 20-second video came on the 7th day of the search for Nancy Guthrie, the 84-year-old resident of Tucson, Arizona. The search for the mother of the Today host has made worldwide headlines because of the mysterious nature of her disappearance. Authorities have said repeatedly that they have not identified a suspect in this case.
KHLA 5's Chris Wolf has been tracking tonight's developments and joins us live from our news center, where he took a closer look at Savannah Guthrie's latest video. Hi, Chris.
Yeah, absolutely. Hello, Court and Karine. News Nation has been outside the home of Savannah Guthrie's sister tonight. This is in Tucson. Take a look. This is footage from News Nation correspondent Brian Enton, who says law enforcement personnel were at the home of Annie Guthrie for about 3 hours. This is not the first time authorities have visited that location. FBI agents have also been there. Enton reports he could see the flashes of cameras going off inside the home and believes investigators were taking pictures, possibly collecting evidence. He says when authorities left the property, they were wearing blue gloves. This development comes after the Guthrie siblings made an emotional plea today for their mother's safe return. Today Show host Savannah Guthrie seems to refer to a new note.
We received your message and we understand. We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace.
The beloved Today Show host, who usually delivers the news, now finds herself at the center of it in one of the most frightening ways. In a new, heart-wrenching video clip posted to social media, Savannah Guthrie joins her siblings in an earnest plea for their mother's safe return, telling the culprits who abducted 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie,
"This is very valuable to us, and we will pay."
We know this. The popular network morning show anchor stated previously that the family needs to know without a doubt that Nancy is alive and must have proof of life, explaining in the age of artificial intelligence and so-called deep fakes that voices and images are easily manipulated. The elderly matriarch did not show up for church services on Sunday, February 1st, and authorities later discovered blood droplets near the front entrance and a missing Ring doorbell camera at her Tucson, Arizona home, among other alarming evidence of foul play. Nancy Guthrie has some serious health issues and requires medication. The Pima County Sheriff's Department, which covers Tucson, says there are no suspects, persons of interest, or vehicles connected to the case at this time. Reports say ransom notes were sent to celebrity news outlet TMZ and 2 local TV news stations, including KOLD, that demanded millions in Bitcoin or cryptocurrency and listed deadlines and details about the crime scene. People claiming to be responsible for snatching Nancy Guthrie are also sending messages to news organizations, the latest on Friday, February 6th. News Nation spoke with the KOLD TV news director.
No, we are not calling this a ransom note. I'm not sure if that's why the FBI is not calling it a ransom note, but we are calling it a message because no further demands were made.
Did the message offer any way for the Guthrie family to communicate?
No.
The FBI is involved in the search for Nancy Guthrie and those who took her. Agents say they make recommendations about handling a ransom note, but add that any final decision is made by the victim's family. A $50,000 reward is now being offered for critical information. Live in the news center,
I'm Chris Wolf, KTLA 5 News.
And we begin tonight with team coverage on breaking news out of Tucson. The search for 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie is intensifying as her family continues to plead for answers.
It's now been almost a week since police believe that she was kidnapped, and still there are no suspects, at least as far as we know. As we begin our coverage tonight, let's first go to Chase Golightly, who's live outside of Annie Guthrie's home. She's one of the two daughters, and Chase, the family posted again on social media tonight, asking for their mother's safe return. And this time they're saying they are willing to pay.
Mark Creepy, that's right. That video released just a few hours ago, but this one felt a little bit different. When you actually hear what the Guthrie family has to say, there seems to be less hope that Nancy is alive. In their previous videos they released on social media, they would always demand proof that their mother was alive and also ask that she be returned safely. But the one they released today, all they ask is for their mom to be back.
It's the third video released by the Guthrie family since their mother, 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie, was taken against her will a week ago. Savannah, her sister Annie, and brother Cameron holding on to each other as they talk directly to the person that kidnapped her.
We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace. This is very valuable to us, and we will pay.
Likely referencing a ransom note sent to multiple news outlets, including KOLD in Tucson, by someone claiming they had Guthrie, demanding money for her return. KOLD news director Jessica Bobula telling NBC News they received that ransom anonymously Monday evening, 2 days after Nancy was reportedly taken. She says part of it described items Nancy had on her.
Did it say her condition, how she was doing? It did. It said we, but had her. But it's not, I'm not going to go into more details.
On Thursday, the Pima County Sheriff's Department said the ransom had a payment deadline set for Thursday at 5 p.m. and a second deadline for Monday. Sheriff Chris Nanos saying they are taking this note seriously, but are still determining its authenticity.
Our mom is our heart and our home.
This is from the first video message from the Today Show co-host and her siblings, worried about Nancy's health, pleading for direct communication with the kidnapper.
Whoever is out there holding our mother, we need you to reach out and we need a way to communicate with you so we can move forward.
Asking for proof that their mother is still alive and that she will be returned safely. Then on Friday, KOLD received another anonymous message.
There is something inside the note that makes it seem that they want to try to prove that it is the same people as sent the first note.
But it did not give any indication Nancy is still alive. On Saturday, the Guthries addressed it.
We received your message, and we understand.
Not saying what it is they understand, only asking for Nancy to be back with them.
Now, we did reach out to the FBI for comment on the Guthrie family's latest video, but they declined to provide a statement. We still haven't heard from the Pima County Sheriff's Department about this as well. As far as here at Annie Guthrie's home, we are seeing a little bit of activity. You have security right outside the driveway, right behind me, along with two what we believe to be undercover investigators that we've been seeing go inside the home. That's all that we've been seeing here, but we do know that this is still a very much an active and ongoing situation. We're live in Tucson. Chase Golightly, 12 News.
Chase, thanks. And he just mentioned something that we were ready to report. As the Guthrie's message grows more desperate, and you can hear it with each passing video message that they post, authorities say the investigation continues to be active.
Yeah, that's right. Gabriella Becerra is live outside of Nancy Guthrie's home. And Gabby, you've been out in Tucson all day. Where does the search stand tonight?
Well, Caribe, Mark, the search continues, and we're told that it started here at Nancy's house and that the radius would grow until they find her. Today, we confirmed with nearby businesses that detectives have been visiting them, asking to see their surveillance video, something the sheriff's office says is standard practice in a case like this. Emotions are high 1 week after 84-year-old Nancy Guthrie disappeared from her Tucson home.
I'm just horrified for her
and what might have happened to her.
The Catalina Foothills community is left wondering where Nancy is and if she's still alive.
She was just very, very nice, very sweet woman.
Their worries come as Savannah Guthrie and her siblings Annie and Cameron addressed their mother's possible abductor once again, this time with an even more emotional plea.
We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace.
The Pima County Sheriff's Department stands firm that no suspect, person of interest, or vehicle has been identified in connection to her suspected kidnapping. Do you think those investigators are feeling any pressure of that ransom note?
You can't. You have to take everything in a very objective, calm way. You can't get sucked in emotionally.
Investigators returned to Nancy's home for a third time. Retired Phoenix Police Commander Jeffrey Hines admits it's not the best look to close and reopen a crime scene repeatedly, but says it's a good sign investigators are being thorough.
Of course, you should have left the crime scene tape up. Of course, everybody knows that. They didn't. They accept that. As soon as the FBI came and said, hey, we need to go back and reprocess the scene, the crime scene tape went up again. Okay. It could have been smoother. Okay. Let's focus on, did they find anything additional that is going to help locate the bad guys here?
This time, investigators towed a blue SUV from the garage. NBC News confirmed it belongs to Nancy. The sheriff's office says they are reviewing evidence and at this time will not confirm or release details regarding what is being analyzed. We know they're also searching neighbors' properties.
3 FBI guys up my driveway behind my house.
Laura Gargano tells me she submitted several tips to law enforcement, knowing the smallest details could lead to Nancy.
Just can't understand how this happened.
And the FBI is offering a reward, $50,000, to anyone who helps bring Nancy home or helps lead to an arrest in this case. They're asking for you to call them directly at 1-800-CALL-FBI. Live in Tucson, Gabriela Becerra, 12 News.
Gabby, thanks. Meanwhile, the clock continues to tick. And as the search for Nancy Guthrie continues, be sure to download 12 Plus on your TV so you can get the latest updates of the investigation.
And here now is Paul Moore, retired NYPD inspector, Fox News contributor. Paul, I want to play the video released by the Guthrie family again for those who may have missed it. Let's watch.
We received your message and we understand. We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace. This is very valuable to us. And we will pay.
What is your reaction to that latest video?
Yeah, look, I'm just seeing it like everybody else. I just read it. So let's look at it very closely, the way Ted Williams did. I think where it gets most troubling is when you go near the end. So let me just tease it out similar to the way Ted just did. We received your message and we understand. That feels to me like there's something new. And one of the things we've all been talking about is, have they established a protocol to speak to each other? This sounds like they got something that is different from the note, the second note, that none of us were really sure was the same people originating in the same place as the first note that the authorities were taking seriously. Now, one of the points I've been making is that if the second note were from the same people, I think they would have included, once again, the crypto wallet. It's not definite, but that would have very much been a proof that it was the same people, because that's a long, unguessable number. And first of all, it goes to the fact that they want to be paid. So I would think it would have been in the second note, not definitive, but perhaps. This feels to me like it's something new. And therefore, I have to think that they did establish some way to talk to each other, one way or the other. That could be good news for the investigation because you have something else to work on. Let's go on real quick. We beg you to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. Celebrate what? That feels to me like a euphemism, right? Celebrate her life, something like that. Also, return our mother to us. Let's look at not so much what's being said as what's not being said. If this note had said something like, okay, we're glad we've had a meeting of the minds. Let's set up the exchange. Would it not have very, very different verbiage? Would it not have said something like, thank you for getting in touch with us. We're ready to move forward, waiting further instructions, things like that. In fact, I would argue there would be nothing public, right? Further, if there were a good protocol to talk to each other, she wouldn't be making a video.
Yeah. Exactly.
So she's sending this out for them to hear this, right? And let me just close the loop. This is the only way we can have peace. To me, that is the most troubling line. Peace, not we can't wait to see her, this is great kind of thing. Peace, when do you talk about peace? You talk about peace when you're talking about closure, right? And then finally, this is very valuable to us. Well, of course your mother is valuable to you if she's alive. That, by negative inference, to say she's valuable, to have to say something is valuable, that tells me that it's something you might not normally think has value, and that goes to the idea that we want her, I'm just going to be frank here, man.
Yeah.
You're asking me, I'm telling you, her body.
Yeah. No,
Right?
and I think a part of that was the next line. Yeah, go ahead. I'm sorry.
And I was going to say, the fact that they're saying, and will pay.
Exactly.
Well, will pay has been there all along.
Exactly.
And the fact that they'll say, so what are you doing now? You're saying, we're going to pay for something that maybe had less value than it had yesterday.
Yeah.
So just as an investigator, I'm telling you, piecing this thing apart, I hope I'm wrong. You know, I think that's clear, but I don't think it's a positive sign.
Paul, I just got one question for you. You alluded to this, that they're communicating back to whoever has her mother with an Instagram post as opposed to through some sort of channel that's established. I would imagine they're speaking with law enforcement and coordinating this with them. Would you say the same thing, basically, that law enforcement supports them putting this video out there this way?
100%. We all know that when they did the first initial response, that we saw law enforcement going in with a ring light. And in fact, you know, when I got that report, I was asked, what do you think? And my first blush was, okay, they're going in with a camera and lighting. Maybe they're going to film a search warrant here so that if they get some incriminating evidence or something, they can demonstrate how they got it. You do things like that. You film locations. But when I heard a ring light, well, we all know what a ring light is, right? That's what people use to make selfies, and, you know, they put the videos on TikTok and all of that. So when I heard that, I began to think, all right, social media. And that was, in fact, the FBI going there, and they did confirm that they were there when that first video was made. I don't know about the second one that Cameron made after the first deadline passed, but certainly the first one, they were there. And at the press conference, they pretty much confirmed that. So let me go yes on that, Joey.
And Paul, I guess we'll also remember here that the next deadline that was previously established was to come on Monday at some point. I don't believe that there was a time period. But of course, today is Saturday, 1 week set that Nancy Guthrie has been missing. You know, so 2 days out from that next deadline, does that help you understand? You know, you walked through the possible interpretations of this last message. Does that add, you know, any, to me, I feel like maybe that's some more optimism. It's before the last deadline that they're still communicating and offering, you know, trying to set up some type of indication that they are willing to pay.
Yeah, I mean, let's hope so, certainly. And I could be wrong. It's just so cryptically worded. And you're not going to, if it looked like, okay, we got a message, we've had a proof of life, you're not going to be cryptic. You know, it's going to be real direct. You know, the only thing that she really says that is really sort of straightforward is we will pay. But that's been there all along, I would argue. So, you know, I hope I'm not taking the wrong messages away from that, because we all hope that she's alive. But this feels to me like they got some new piece of information where almost as if they said something like this. An accident occurred. This didn't go the way we expected. Yeah. You know, we know she had a heart condition, right? Something like that. And like you say, we're before the deadline. So would they not be saying things like, you know, before the deadline occurs? And I've heard disparate reporting on the deadline. My understanding is that the best sourcing from the authorities was that it was going to be 5 o'clock again on Monday, Arizona time. And that might be an inference, the Arizona time piece. But yeah, because we're before the deadline, it would have felt to me more like a negotiation than it does.
Wow. All right, Paul, thank you so much. Please stick around. We always appreciate your insight.
Click here to subscribe to the Fox News YouTube page to catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You won't get it anywhere else.
Breaking news in the search for Nancy Guthrie. I'm Jonathan Hunt, live at the Pima County Sheriff's Office as Savannah Guthrie and her two siblings, Annie and Cameron, release another heart-wrenching, painful video pleading for the return of their 84-year-old mother. Let's watch.
We received your message and we understand. We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace. This is very valuable to us, and we will pay.
As you know, an initial ransom note from a purported kidnapper or kidnappers demanded millions in Bitcoin for Nancy Guthrie's return and laid out two deadlines, one of which passed at 5 p.m. on Friday. The other deadline, the FBI said, comes on Monday. Now, yesterday, investigators said they were reviewing a new message in the case. That one, like the first, was received by a news station here in Tucson, which said it contained this second message: no proof of life and no deadlines. Investigators returned to the Nancy Guthrie home late yesterday. Among other things, they towed away an SUV, a blue Subaru, as far as we could see. That has now been brought here to the Pima County Sheriff's Department. Drone video also showed deputies and agents searching the property once again using flashlights as part of that search. Now, I want to bring in now Fox News contributor Ted Williams, former D.C. police detective and defense attorney. Ted, great to have you here on set with us at the Sheriff's Office. First of all, the news tonight, that gut-wrenching video we've seen. What did you make of it, Ted?
You know, Jonathan, it was shocking. I really was not able to comprehend it. You could look at this video in several different ways. It certainly, one thing we know about Savannah, she's a media personality. She knows how to speak plain, clear language. And I didn't see that there. And there were several things I must say to you, Jonathan, that stood out to me. One, this is the only way we can have peace. This. And then to say, this is a very valuable to us and we will pay. You don't talk about your mom in that way if your mom is still here. This is very valuable. You would say something like, we love our mom. Our mom is very valuable to us and we will pay. And you would make those kinds of arrangements. And so I'm deeply, deeply disturbed and concerned.
It was, as you watched that video, and when we first watched it, when it popped up, we're all trying to pass the language. And I think we have to leave it to our viewers to... Everybody can look at that. Everybody can make of it what they will. But the pain was writ large on Savannah's face. I noticed Annie seemed to be struggling to hold herself together, sobbing. Cameron, the brother, stoic as we have seen. What about the approach, though? The direct appeal, we will pay. Smart move?
Well, it's a smart move if, in fact, you're saying, hey, look, you have my mom, and I'm sorry she's dead, but we want her back. I believe that there was some communication and some contact from the possible abductors, and if she's no longer here, they made some kind of an excuse as to what took place. And this is the reason that I believe Savannah says, we understand. She's trying to let them establish a rapport, but more than anything else, she wants her mother back alive, but if not alive, she wants her mother's body.
Now, in these situations, will the FBI, in your view, have been a part of crafting the language of all of these video messages that they put on Instagram, the family?
Jonathan, absolutely. I believe that family has worked part and parcel with the FBI or law enforcement per se, and that law enforcement was certainly part and parcel of the making out and these various messages and drafting them up.
So where do we go from here, Ted? I mean, this is an investigation which has not run as smoothly as it could have done from out of the county sheriff's office. It struck me that over the last few days, while jurisdictionally, obviously, the Pima County Sheriff's Department is still the lead agency, the FBI clearly taking a much stronger control of what is happening in terms of the investigation. You see that continuing going forward?
And I see it very, very much continuing. I think after that second note is when the FBI took over, came in, took the blue vehicle from Nancy's home, went up on that roof, found some information, and took that. I think the FBI is clearly involved, and the big question is, where do we go from here? The ball may very well be in the court of the abductors, and they're waiting for some kind of a response and communication.
Right. Stick with us for a moment, Ted. I want to bring in Joe Cardinale, retired NYPD lieutenant, who is also with us. Joe, again, let's get to the big news of the night, this Instagram video. What do you make of that, Joe?
I have to agree with Ted to a large degree, because the language that they're using is not that of somebody that would say, please don't hurt her, please don't do this, please don't do that. It's apparently they're in control, they know it, and at this stage of the game, they have to play by the rules that are being set by whoever these persons are. So the investigation is going on from so many different aspects right now. They're still pinging the towers. They're still going back to that day. It's a desolate area, so they're not that desolate, but it's just not as congested as you would have in New York City. So it'll be a little easier to get the pings, on their phones. But the message that's being sent tonight is a clear one. They want their mother back. That's the bottom line. They are a religious family. You know that from the prior, talks about this and everything. They expected her at church. Savannah's, big into her faith. And this plays into it big time. They want their mother back. And I'm not going to be the one to say under any conditions, but it's getting pretty dire as far as I'm concerned.
Yeah, and Joe, I just want to point out to our viewers, as we look at you screen right there, and now look at me, on the left of the screen, that is live pictures from one of our drone cameras. Two sheriff's vehicles, as we understand it, have just shown up at Nancy Guthrie's house. We don't know what their purpose is. It may once again be simply a traffic control kind of measure there. We don't know if any sheriff's deputies are heading back onto the property, and if they are going to be joined by any FBI agents at this point. But Joe, talking of the sheriff's department here, how do you see the investigation having played out so far? Obviously, as the sheriff here, Chris Nones, has admitted himself, he is open to some Monday morning quarterbacking. Do you think he's done everything to the best ability here, or do you see the real need for the FBI to take control of all of this?
Oh, there's a clear path for the FBI to take this. I mean, this isn't a large department. I'm sure they've never seen anything like this before or handled anything like this before. The FBI has, in New York City we have, and we have the resources for this. Personally, I would have had that crime scene secured from day one and not let anybody in there, not to press anybody to get those photos of, the blood stains or anything. And that's for a reason. You have to maintain the integrity of that crime scene. Ted can tell you that. We've done it a million times. And it's not that you can't go back. You go back, but you have it under conditions that are controlled where nobody else could have gone inside, done anything. And then you have a roster of who came, what time, what they did, and what was retrieved. And the FBI can lay that out very clearly. Department that doesn't have the capacity to do that. They also have the state police that could come in. But, that area should have been secured. And, like I said, it's not Monday morning quarterbacking. It's dealing with a department that's never had anything of this on this scale.
Right. And Ted, that is a fair point, isn't it? This is, we all come into Tucson. It's a huge case, national, international attention, and it's going to take sometimes, to be fair, a sheriff's department of this size to get up to speed with something with that kind of spotlight on it.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And let me just say, my friend Joe is absolutely 100% right. The first thing you do is the preservation of the crime scene. And you do not allow that crime scene to be contaminated. And in this instance, it has been contaminated as far as I'm concerned. But this sheriff department, I think, is out and was trying to do the right thing. But I think it's significant and important for the Federal Bureau of Investigation to come in, as we believe they have, and taken over this investigation.
Joe, the sheriff has been emotional at times when talking about this case. He was on NBC. Obviously, Savannah Guthrie works for NBC yesterday morning, and he seemed to choke up when he was asked, do you believe that Nancy Guthrie is still alive? And he talked about having to have the hope that she is. Joe, as somebody who's seen so much crime, investigated so much crime, these are still humans, these sheriff's deputies, the sheriff himself, and you can't entirely put your emotions to one side, can you, in these situations?
On the human side of everybody that's affected by this, the sheriff as well. And let's not forget, this is a small community, and these departments know the residents very well. They check on them. It's not large like New York City or in Washington, D.C., where you don't get to know everybody. I mean, I've dealt with so many small towns, and you'd be surprised at how they operate, and it's in a compassionate way, too. They check on the elderly. They have, little signs. One department said, if this Mrs. So-and-so doesn't have her shades up in the morning, I know to go over and check on them. So this is, very hard for a department like this to go through this when you may personally know this individual, and it's very overwhelming at times, but, you still work through that. I'm not saying this department, with the resources that they have, the FBI, I'm sure the FBI, I know the FBI sat back and said, Sheriff, handle the press on this. We'll handle this aspect of it. Please do this. Please do that. And that's exactly what was going on and what's still going on. Everybody's on board. They want to get the same job done. They want justice served.
All right, Joe, Ted, stand by. I want to just remind our viewers of why we are on air live tonight from the Pima County Sheriff's Office. We are here because we got a major development in the ongoing search for Nancy Guthrie. That development, a heart-wrenching video posted to Instagram by Savannah Guthrie. Watch once more.
We received your message, and we understand. We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace. This is very valuable to us, and we will pay.
We will pay. The message from Savannah Guthrie to whomever is holding her 84-year-old mother.
The search for Nancy Guthrie is now in day 7. Breaking today, new surveillance video shows investigators visiting a gas station near Nancy's home. Police also are trying to authenticate what could be a second message from her captors, which was sent to a local TV news station. Art Del Cueto knows this area well. He lives in Arizona, worked in the Border Patrol for more than 2 decades, and is now a border security advisor for the Federation for American Immigration Reform. Are you suggesting or wondering, at least, Art, whether she might have been spirited across the border into Mexico?
Look, everything's up in the air right now, obviously, because we're so close to the Mexican border. We're so close to, different types of criminal organizations. One thing that has not been pointed out at all, however, is that we're in that time of year in Tucson when the GEM show is going on. So when this GEM show is happening in Tucson, you have people from all over the world currently in Tucson. So that's another thing that I think people need to start looking at as well. Look, I was out there the first day when I heard about it. I was checking the terrain. behind her house and around different areas. I probably, canvassed close to 8 miles of that area around there, trying to see if I could find any type of particular clue or sign or anything really that could somebody could have missed or somebody was not looking for correctly. And it's very difficult terrain. It's very hard to canvass. Look, you need lights out there first and foremost. Tucson's got this ordinance where it's so you don't have a light pollution. And I believe that something like that should have been circumvented and should be circumvented now. And there should be some lights put out there to see if there's anything else that they could find.
Yeah. So having looked at this case for a week now, I mean, what sticks in your mind? What's in the forefront of your investigative mind?
I think that the biggest thing that is very frustrating is that particular ransom note that they've looked at. Now they have a second one that they're trying to authenticate. Look, they said that the second ransom note, or I guess the second note, doesn't have any deadlines. So you have to believe that the second note was sent because of the video that the children put out, that her children put out, talking about, send us something to show us that our mother is still alive. So because the first note was very clear in their deadlines, in their description of what their demands were. So you would think that the second note is more to authenticate it, to say, hey, look, we are real. This is what we need. And I think that's the most frustrating part of it.
I want to put up a map of a couple of the key points in the area. I hope you're able to see it, but I imagine you know enough about the area that this all stands out for you. Annie Guthrie's house, her daughter, Savannah's sister, is about 4 miles from Nancy's house. Annie and her husband were the last people apparently to see Nancy alive that we know of. And when I say alive, I don't mean to suggest that she's no longer alive.
Correct.
Then there's the Circle K, which is about 5 miles south of Nancy's house. And we know that, Annie's house. We know that the Circle K, that authorities went there and took some videotape from them, that something happened there, that the gas station called and said, you ought to come check this out. So when you look at those locations, Art, does anything spring to mind?
It doesn't really. That's the problem. Nothing really stands out. And because of the way Tucson is built, we're far away. That area where they live, the area where the Circle K is, it's far from the major highway. There's only one major highway that goes through Tucson, and it's far away from where the family lives. So that's what makes it, I think, more difficult. That if they were going to take leave the city through the freeway, they would have to go across the entire town to do so. If they were wanting to go south into Mexico, like some people have suggested, they would have to go across the entire freeway, then try to jump on the other smaller freeway that takes you down into Mexico. So that's what would make it even more difficult. But like I said, the problem also is that area where the house is, and people, they tend to hear desert landscape and they think it's flat and it's the Sahara. This is far from that. There's a lot of brush, there's a lot of trees, there's a lot of cactus, even in the washes that are behind the house, the dry riverbeds. There's so many of them that it's like a spinal trail that goes into different areas. So it would be so hard to track something through there as well. They had Border Patrol out there. They had Boar Star, which is the rescue from Border Patrol, and some of their canines that were out there searching. And I hate to say it, but if they weren't able to find something out there, I doubt something out there is there now. But once again, a lot of individuals have gone through those areas, through those trails. Nothing has been found. It's just one of those things that it's horrific. And all they have to go on right now, the family, is those 2 letters that were submitted to the news station.
And I guess we have to hope that those are authentic. Art Del Cueto, formerly with the Border Patrol. Art, thank you.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.
With us now is former FBI Special Agent Nicole Parker. Nicole, thanks for sticking with us this extra hour of the big weekend show with this breaking news. Earlier, you mentioned, just some ideas of what the perpetrators here may be doing, perhaps trying to get more time. What I want to ask you, since you're an FBI Special Agent, is what is it that the FBI brings to the table in this investigation that local law enforcement, state law enforcement, general police efforts and investigators can't do? And is any of that in motion right now?
That's a great question. We love working with our local law enforcement agencies, both local and state. They're phenomenal and they bring a lot to the table. But again, the FBI, they do have very unique resources. And I, again, greatly appreciate that President Trump has said, look, take whatever you need. Every single resource that you need, we will give it to you. And that is powerful because the FBI does have very special techniques, investigative tools, and other things of that sort. So let's start with our CAST, for instance, our cellular analysis support team. They will literally go in and they can tell where a cell phone has been pinging. They can go and look in a certain area and they can tell basically every single person that used a cell phone in that area. And they can then triangulate that, they can track that, and then they can determine where was this person at this exact hour. And so if someone's saying, oh, I wasn't there, well, if you had a cell phone, look, the pings don't lie. They do not lie. And it is a very complex and sophisticated technology. They do an amazing job of it. We have our critical incident response group. That includes all of our hostage rescue team, our SWAT, our behavioral analysis unit. Let me hone in on behavioral analysis unit for a minute. That is one of the divisions that is so crucial in this investigation because of these emails that are coming out. They do a full statement analysis. They will review everything. They will say, okay, they'll sit with the family and they will say, look, this is what we believe that they're saying. These are profilers that have been working these types of investigations. I mean, we're talking hundreds of investigations that have been worked. I work very closely with many of these profilers, and this is how you solve cases. You look at behaviors, you look at patterns. And so a lot of the things that I'm sharing with you are based on things that I personally experienced by looking at different behavioral patterns in the past. Of course, this case is always unique, but when you look at what you've done in the past and how there are a lot of similarities, BAU is outstanding. The other thing that they bring to the table are evidence response teams. They're phenomenal. They go in and they reconstruct crime scenes. I believe that they are definitely reconstructing the crime scene, trying to determine what occurred in this instance. And then they're taking all of the technological artifacts and they're piecing them together and they're narrowing in the timeline. So we've talked about, for instance, the Ring doorbell camera or the doorbell camera that stopped working. They're going to take that specific artifact and then they're going to piece it together with, the pacemaker app stopped working. Then they're going to actually piece it together. And one thing that I think the FBI is definitely doing is think about it. This woman had a pacemaker. Our heart rate is extremely important. It's indicative of a state of stress that you might be in. So I wouldn't be shocked if they're taking her pacemaker app and they're looking at her heart rate over the last, let's say, couple weeks and seeing when did it spike? When did it drastically change when she was in a moment of distress? And when that occurred, who was she with? What was she doing? Again, if this is being brought on, this horrible crime, is someone close to her? Was it someone that had been around her in the last week, the last 2 weeks, the last few days prior to her disappearance? Again, they're going to be looking at all of the communications. They're going to be bringing in our CART team, our computer analysis response team. They are phenomenal at taking all of the electronic devices and they will literally make an image. They will extract all of the information off of it. And people think, oh, I deleted my text messages. Oh, I deleted the email. No. The FBI, they can go in and recover all of that. So again, we're talking CART. We're talking CAST. We're talking CERC. We're talking all of these things are being brought to bear right now.
So Nicole, thank you for outlining all that. So knowing all that, knowing those capabilities and those possibilities and options, do you think that the FBI, the local police are speaking to the perps through Savannah Guthrie and her family? Or do you think this is more the family saying, listen, this is what we want to do because we need something we need to move this forward?
All right. They want their mom back, right? Yeah. So again, just similar to the response to the email, the first email, right? They work hand in hand, but at the end of the day, so for instance, a BAU profiler, they would likely be working very closely with the family on the statement analysis and say, hey, look, this is what we suggest that might be good to say in a response based on these behaviors. But at the end of the day, the family calls, they make their own decisions. The FBI can say, and again, I'm not in a position, and nor am I going to comment on paying ransoms. That would be inappropriate based on I just think it's best that the FBI and the professionals, they do this all the time. And so let me just say that the family, at the end of the day, it's their choice. But they do work very, very closely. And I'm sure they're in consultation with law enforcement. And this Guthrie family, Savannah and her siblings, I mean, they want the best outcome possible. and they're doing everything in their power to bring their mom home alive. That is the goal, and that is what they want. And so I know for a fact that they are listening very closely to law enforcement, but it has to be made very clear that the FBI will never come in and say, you must do this, you must say this, you have to do this next. It's ultimately up to the family. But again, the FBI's job, their job is to protect the American people and to do everything that they can to protect the American people. That is their job.
Nicole, we want to remind everyone of what the Guthries said in their videos from earlier this week, and then, of course, the one from today. We want to play those videos just so we can remind everyone the context and the content of both.
We are ready to talk. However, we live in a world where voices and images are easily manipulated. We need to know, without a doubt, that she is alive and that you have her. We want to hear from you, and we are ready to listen.
Whoever is out there holding our mother, we want to hear from you. We haven't heard anything directly. We need you to reach out, and we need a way to communicate with you so we can move forward. But first, we have to know that you have our mom. We want to talk to you, and we are waiting for contact.
Nicole, does anything stand out to you in terms of the difference between these two videos and the one that, of course, was just released this evening?
In this one that was released this evening, I did not hear a requirement of proof for life. I did not hear that. I did not hear a requirement to ask for communication. I heard that she said, we are ready to pay. So that is a very big difference. I think it's important to note that the proof of life that was, again, I have not seen the emails, but based on press conferences, they mentioned something about a floodlight and an Apple Watch. In my opinion, that's a very weak proof of life. I want to know something that I told my mother when I was a child that only my mother would know. To me, that's a sufficient example of proof of life, not something that just recently happened that they may have been seen on the news. That's just my own personal and professional opinion. I think anyone would agree with that. I want a proof of life of only something my mother would know. Doesn't seem, again, we do not know everything. We do not know everything. The investigators do. But based on what we're hearing, that doesn't seem that happened. And also, we're not aware of any communications that may have happened. And the fact that Savannah Guthrie is, again, going on her Instagram and saying, we are ready. What she's basically saying is, look, you probably wanted time, and your time is up because we're ready. Let's go. What do you got? Let's do this. That's what it looks like to me.
Nicole, I know the country is deeply concerned about this and sort of captivated by the story. And a huge question looming there is, of course, where is Nancy Guthrie? But a related question that is pressing on many minds is who possibly could be responsible for this? And you were talking about the BAU at the FBI. I know that you were not a part of it, but trying to put yourself sort of into that mentality, there's a universe of potential suspects. Someone who's very close to the family, someone who's maybe mid-range from the family with connections to the house or to the family. People have talked about a contracted employee, for example, or then this other possibility of a complete stranger that planned this from afar. If you think about those possibilities, walk us through some of those, because it's probably, it's got to be one of those three categories, right?
Correct. Absolutely. And again, no, I was not a part of the behavioral analysis unit, but I have worked very closely with them because I worked on violent crime. And so that's how we solve our cases. I've worked, murder for hires, homicides, things of that sort. And so it's very common for us to consult regularly with the BAU program and department, and they are outstanding. These are the best profilers around. They are knowledgeable, they are highly trained, and they are very good. So let's go through first scenario. Someone who's never a stranger, doesn't know them, a random person. Is it possible? Yes. Probable? No. It's just not highly probable based on past cases and investigative experience. Not probable. Someone who I think it's highly probable that this individual individual or individuals. We do not know if it's more than one person. In my opinion, it likely is more than one person. And in my opinion, I strongly believe that at least one of them, if it's more than one, is a male. Again, just based on past experience. I think it's highly probable that this individual is in her close circle, whether that is a family member, whether that is, like you mentioned, someone who comes and cleans the pool, a nurse home caregiver, a person who cleans her home, a person who does the yard. I mean, it could be a number of different things, right? That's, more probable than a stranger, but it's someone who is very familiar with who she was, what time she would be there, her pattern of life, that she was 84 years old, that it was difficult for her to get around. Think about it. She is the most vulnerable victim around. I mean, it's almost like a child. Children and elderly are the most vulnerable victims that we have in society. I think that the probability of it being related, okay, when we talk about the FBI, one thing that I know for a fact that the FBI is doing, and DAU and others are going in and looking at the relationships that she had. I know that they imaged her phone. We talked all about the Celebrite. That would be used to image a device, an electronic device, whether it's a phone or a tablet, and they are going to go through all the communications that she has had. And frankly, I wouldn't be surprised if they did that on those that were in her close circle, right? Let's say that her daughter, her son-in-law, or other people that she was very close to. Were there any quarrels? Were there any disputes? Were there any issues? Were there any big events coming up? Were there any major financial transactions? Were there any fights about money? Was there a potential will that was being looked at? These are things that the FBI will not rule out anything. They're going to be looking at all of this. And so, again, probable versus possible, you never want to say, oh, that's not possible. But I think it's a low possibility that or a low probability, high possibility. It's likely someone that knows her well and is in her circle, in her community, shall we say. But again, let's take this into consideration. And I've worked many cases where it's not actually the person that has the grievance. There is someone involved in this who has a deep grievance. Okay. The person with the deep grievance may not be the person who actually committed the crime. They may have hired someone. Okay. So again, this is just a hypothetical. This is not what I'm saying happened, but let's say it's the pool guy. It may not be the actual pool guy that went in at, 1:48 a.m. It may have been the pool guy that hired their friend or someone, because that's what we do. I mean, I've worked murder for hire cases. I am not saying this is a murder for hire case, but in crimes, when the person who has the grievance does not want to be responsible for committing the crime, they go and hire someone. So that is always a possibility as well. Is that possible? Yes. Probable? We're going to look, they're definitely looking into that.
Well, we're not, I think probable is about as certain as we can get in this conversation tonight. We just don't have enough information. Viewers at home know that. They know that we're trying to glean something from this. It's just not every day that you get this type of scenario, you get this type of crime, you get this type of, you don't know what happens next. So of course we're following it very closely. Nicole, thank you so much for joining us, for bringing your insight, your experience. And the one thing we all can agree on is we can probably pray for a happy outcome.
Hey, Sean Hannity here. Hey, click here to subscribe to Fox News YouTube page and catch our hottest interviews and most compelling analysis. You will not get it anywhere else.
Nancy's daughter, Savannah Guthrie, has just released a new video alongside several other relatives pleading for the return of her mother and making it very clear they are willing to pay. Please let us pay for our mother back. But I want you to take a look at this video and pay close attention. Rewind it if you have to, but we will go over it after I play it. The body language, specifically in the face, of all three of the people on camera, while Savannah is delivering this message to the kidnappers. Something just feels off.
We received your message and we understand. We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace. This is very valuable to us and we will pay.
Now, first, let's start with Savannah Guthrie, because honestly, in my opinion, on all accounts, I think she is the most authentic and genuine that there is when it comes to everything she's saying and feeling about this. So let me just point something out to you. This is all based on not only my experience in 10 years in prison, being in a very confined space with lots of inmates where you always have to threat assess and assess whether someone is lying or being genuine or truthful or inauthentic. And just everything I've learned on top of spending most of 2024 as well as all of 2025 taking multiple courses and getting certified in body language analysis.
We received your message and we understand. We beg you now.
Now, already you can see, and she continues doing this the entire time she's talking almost, just this rapid blinking of her eyes, rapid eye blinking, which is usually indicating they're under a lot of stress, thinking about what they're saying. As they're saying it's something that really causes them a lot of stress and anxiety, just overall a nonverbal cue of discomfort, which makes total sense here for her.
To return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace.
Now, see, when she says that sentence specifically, she's doing a pretty rapid side-to-side head shake, followed by a downward tilt of the head and looking down. And usually what that means is there's a severe disappointment in just what is being said, who it's being said to, and almost an unwillingness to even look at or address this other person, which also totally makes sense. And I could absolutely see why she feels that way.
We received your message and we understand.
Now you see already Cameron Guthrie, he's the older brother of the siblings, all these siblings here, 2 sisters and a brother. Big brother looks like a pretty, for his age, fit, capable, in shape guy. And, look at the contrast of these 3 expressions. I see bravery and the willingness to speak out as well as concern and even a little fear on Savannah Guthrie's face. We look at Annie Guthrie. Honestly, we'll get to her in a little bit. But you look at him, my goodness, there is no BS behind that expression. He's not happy about this. He's not happy about what's happened to his mother. He's not happy about what his sister is going through. He's holding her hand. He's at direct eye contact with this camera lens. Just to start off, this is the first 1 second of the video. There is contempt, and that is, in my opinion, having been around a lot of men in prison who exhibit the capability of protecting and defending either themselves or just something or someone they care about. That is the look of a man who is angry that he is not able to do something about this, because he absolutely would. And I know all the men out there watching recognize that. Look at that. Look at him. That man is ready, and he just needs any avenue to go down. And that's just in the first second. Let's keep watching.
Your message and we understand. We beg you now to return.
See this unchanging, it's just a few blinks, but just unchanging expression. He has a lot of thoughts in the back of his mind that are very different from these 2 girls right here.
Our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will have peace.
And you see the long extension of him just kind of closing his eyes / just looking down. Usually people close their eyes when they say or hear something they don't like or makes them uncomfortable. And in this case, I think it's most likely that we hear the pleas. There's almost a submission to the kidnappers with this whole ransom situation for their mother back. And him and his mind, it eats him up, because this is not a man who wants to submit, but this is a man who understands that that may just have to be necessary, because ultimately what matters is getting mom home safe. But it's not his ideal scenario. He would love to know who you are and where you're at, and he'd love to come over there and get her back himself and do whatever needs to be done to you. And he's just closing his eyes and looking down, and just, man, I know it is just eating at him that they're even having to make this video.
This is very valuable to us, and we will pay.
And you see that slow, I don't know if you caught it right at the end. She said, and we will pay. But when she says that, if you focus on him, while she says we will pay, he does just ever so slightly, just the smallest nod. He just goes, never changing his expression the entire video, which that is a man who acknowledges that his ego, his pride, his masculinity, and what he wants to do and how he wants to handle this situation. He recognizes that he is to an extent powerless, as much as he doesn't want to be. And I feel for him, and I understand that. But he does recognize, all that set to the side. The smartest thing to do is whatever has to be done that we can all be in agreement on, in order to hopefully get Nancy Guthrie back safely and alive. And so that is a man who is very reluctant to have to make this video, but nevertheless, he cares for his mother and his siblings so much that here's my nod of yes. It's giving off. They have spoken about this at length in private, and probably weighed many factors and gone over many scenarios and possibilities and theories, and decided this is what we need to do. And okay, here I am agreeing, but I'm not happy about it. And finally, let's take a look, rewatch this, keep an eye on Annie Guthrie.
We received your message, and we understand.
But already there's just something, I mean, even just the hand holding from this clearly angried, helpless feeling, but wanting to do what he can. Big brother holding his sister's hand. And then what is this? The hand with her sister Annie. What is this? And look how close. That's another thing. Look how close her Savannah Guthrie and her brother are positioned. They are very close, very comforted, very like we're in this together. I have you, you have me. And then look at this degree of separation with Annie. And I understand, I'm not one of those people who wants to get carried away with analyzing every little thing and turning it into something just ridiculous, some conspiracy. But look at this separation compared to the closeness of the brother and Savannah. And then almost the entire time, you can watch this clip back as many times as you want. I urge you to, and pay attention. I would say for 90% of the time of this little 20-second clip, Annie's eyes are closed and she is separated a bit too much from her sister, who seems very genuine. And then this handhold is almost... Wait. Whoa. Am I tripping? I feel like I'm, whoa. Do y'all see this? Hang on. Whoa. Oh my God. Let me, hang on. I need to zoom in because there's no way. There's no way. That has to be, okay. I'm zooming in. Okay. I don't know. You see, look right here at the hand. There's like a nub, but the fingers, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then 6. I am assuming, yeah. Okay. I'm assuming that's all right. Let me zoom out. That threw me off a little bit. Again, I'm not a hyper conspiracy theorist. Let me readjust this video to an appropriate size. Yeah, no, that threw me off. I'm just, I guess I'm guessing that's over here to the left is the thumb of Annie Guthrie. I was about to say, is this an AI photo? Why are there 6 fingers? But anyway, sorry to get off topic. Let's just keep the video going. Let's keep it going.
We beg you now to return our mother to us so that we can celebrate with her. This is the only way we will.
When she's not looking down at the floor, which is the majority of the time, she just looks directly into the camera. And there's no frown, there's no smile, there's no wrinkle of the brow. There's just nothing. It's just a straight mouth expression. There's nothing. And and I can't come out here and say, oh, Annie's got something to do with it or she knows, but I think we can agree, and I will feel awful if this turns out to be not true, but I think we can agree it's just suspicious and it's very odd, her behavior, all things considered. Something is just off here. And, you take everything else into consideration. I mean, they kidnapped a woman and the 84-year-old woman, she's got a pacemaker, it disconnected. They didn't get her medication. Tommaso, her husband, Tommaso Ciano is the last one to see her. He's a guy who is very much into dark, heavy metal. He wants to be a heavy metal rock artist. And then the guy who got arrested is not far from them for sending a fake ransom text to their personal cell phone numbers. Don't know how you got those. And this guy has only, the fake ransom note guy has only uploaded 2 videos to the internet ever in his life. And both of those videos are centered around the fact that he also makes heavy metal, rock, dark music. And in one of these videos on YouTube, which I showed you in my previous, not my last video, but the video before that, he's sitting in a room playing this music with a blow-up doll with a gag in its mouth behind him. It's just so weird. It's just so weird. And there's just this stone face expression on her, which you could argue there's a stone face expression on this man, the brother. Yeah, but I think we can all agree that it's easy to decipher the difference. I mean, I see a stone-faced expression on him, but it comes with emotion. I see this, I'm not even going to say stone-faced, just this neutral, a lack of expression that comes with no emotion or almost feigned emotion. And again, if this turns out to be completely wrong, I'm sorry and I will apologize, but something's just eating at me in my gut. Something's not right. Let's watch a little more.
Peace. This is very valuable to us, and we will pay. We received your.
I don't know. I'm not getting it. And I mean, this is the same woman. You're living with your husband who he was suspected at one time, allegedly, because he was the last one to drop off Nancy Guthrie at her home. And then just as early as last night, 3 police cars full of officers stormed your house. You and I guess they call him Thomas, but his real name's Tommaso. They stormed your house, and we don't know what they did or what the purpose was. They haven't released that. But it's just something just don't feel right. But there's your body language analysis. I hope you enjoyed it, or I hope it, in other words, I hope it gave you some insight and information and education. Okay. That's what I'm seeing from this. Hopefully we'll hear something tomorrow. There's a lot of updates going on out there. There's a lot of news channels every hour. Here's a new video update on the case. And it's the same updates. They're just asking new experts what they think about the same old updates, really squeezing this for all it's worth. And I mean, okay, that's the media, but I even watched a video today. It was a very educated man who has a lot of experience in this, talking about how bad the local law enforcement just dropped the ball on immediately in the initial investigation, because days and days and days later, they finally admitted, hey, this is kind of out of our league. We need to give it to the FBI. But they screwed up so badly. They 6 hours after the pacemaker of Nancy Guthrie went offline, they show up to the house and they do, the bare minimum. And then, they have it taped off. Oh, it's a crime scene. And then, now it's all clear. We got all we need. And they allowed reporters, just like Brian Enton. Brian Enton was like probably one of the first ones, maybe not the first, but as far as what I saw on social media days ago, he seemed to be like maybe the first one to just go in there, trample all on the crime scene. He's walking all over the property. He's filming the blood drops in the driveway. He's leaving footprints. Maybe he's touching stuff, maybe not. I don't know what all he did. And on camera and off camera, he's all over the property. And I'm sure he's not the only one who did. And just like this expert said, man, you just let all these journalists come infect the crime scene and just trample all over all this evidence. And it's crazy. These people, they just, the day a case breaks, they fly out to wherever it is and they just get whatever they can get their paws on, and they trample all over the evidence and the blood splatters, and they film it and they're releasing information, which maybe, maybe it's not a good idea to release that, buddy. Like, are you just trying to get content, or do you want the case to be solved? I don't know. But it's really wild. It's just really a shame how this case has gotten handled. And then everything you see here considered, it is so... nothing makes sense. It's all so odd. And honestly, if you want my opinion, I hope I'm wrong, but I highly doubt Nancy is still alive, considering all the medical issues and the fact that there is no proof of life, and there's not even been any instructions on how to make a payment for the ransom in a week. I think whoever did this didn't realize how big this would get. All the media coverage, Donald Trump, the president of the United States, is coming out offering to give reinforcements and deploy special agents. It's being talked about on every news show, and good, but it's everywhere. And that mixed with, I really feel like, I hate to say it, I feel like she may have perished due to unforeseen by the kidnapper medical conditions and circumstances. And I think they are panicking. Everyone in the nation is talking about this right now. And I think they are crapping their pants because they never thought it would be like this. And now they don't know what to do. They're panicking. They're not giving proof of life. They're not offering you a way to pay ransom money. They don't know what to do because something went very, very wrong in their plans and their blueprint. And I don't think that's going to turn out good for the family, other than I'm sure eventually the person behind this will be caught. I'm very confident they will. But that, that only does so much for the family. Anyways, I'll keep you updated on any new information. Till then, see you next time.